Hi, we have with us today Andrew Mack, who is partner at Asters, a law firm. Andrew is based in Washington, D.C. Andrew, it's good to see you. How are you doing?
Fine, thanks. Thanks for spending the time with me. Everything is great. It's a beautiful fall morning here in Washington.
So, Andrew, you're in DC, and Asters is one of the biggest law firms in Ukraine. So tell us, I mean, over the last 189 days, I think it is now, 27 weeks, how have you been doing? How's the law firm, how's it operating?
Well, I mean, look, I think this was very unprecedented. It presented us with a lot of challenges. And the first thing was obviously we had to move to remote working. And, we did have the software in place for that type of, situation. We didn't think it would be for this long period of time. And we, I think managed very effectively to continue to service our clients while being based, outside of the office. To the point, I'll be blunt, we're wondering whether we need to have the, large offices that we currently have.
Well, I think that is the question. So what are the opportunities of working from home?
Well, so, look, let's break this down. We as a law firm represent hundreds, thousands of clients, I should say. First and foremost, their confidentiality is the most important thing that we have to secure. So obviously, when we started this remote working, we wanted to make sure that we would never compromise client confidentiality. And I think, I won't get into the details of that because it's confidential in and of itself. But I think that we were fairly certain early on in this pandemic that we could do that. Having said that, we limited access to the office initially to only those who needed to have physical access to our archives or who needed to basically have in-person meetings in order to make sure that confidentiality would be secured at the highest levels. And that's the first thing that we did. The second thing that we did was obviously, okay, so people are sitting at home, they're working. How do we keep our corporate culture alive? How do we keep the sense of teamwork? And I think our HR department deserves a lot of credit because we did have a number of events via Zoom, via Microsoft Teams, and other software, and I think we managed to keep a team spirit going. The other factor in any pandemic is health and safety. And we wanted to make sure that not only our employees were healthy, but we wanted to make sure that their families were healthy too. And, that was difficult because, especially if you remember, back in March, nobody really knew what this pandemic was. We had heard that it could be much worse than it turned out to be. Others, obviously, thought it would be not as severe and lengthy as it turned out to be. So, through our health insurance company that Asters uses, we made sure that our employees and their immediate families had access to adequate testing. And we've kept them up to date with whatever medical breakthroughs there have been in the last 6 months.
Okay, well, brilliant. I think it's interesting to see, that this is, it's just a game changer, and it's changing the way sort of the whole legal markets works, and especially I think for an international company or a company that does so much international business. I mean, if you look at the differences in business between the US and Ukraine, during this COVID, especially the law firms. I mean, is there anything you're seeing different that the law firms in the US are doing as opposed to law firms in Ukraine? I mean,
no. Ironically, no. I think it's a very similar structure. I think to some extent, the Ukrainian legal environment, for example, my understanding is the regulatory agencies and the courts were already reopened in June. In some U.S. jurisdictions, that still hasn't occurred. So to some extent, there was the situation returned to some normalcy for the Ukrainian legal market already in late June. Whereas in some U.S. cities, that still is not the case. But overall, it's the same game plan. And I think that, first and foremost, the health and security of the employees. Second, and tied with that is client confidentiality. And obviously, we try to sustain the business culture as much as possible. That's exactly what I've seen other major firms in the States do.
Okay. So this series of videos is about leadership in times of crisis, times of uncertainty. What are you seeing? What is leadership in times of uncertainty?
Well, look, first and foremost, empathy. I think you really have to empathize with everybody in your immediate circle. For us, it was our employees and our clients. We understand that this is something that nobody had prepared for. So everyone has, special needs during this period, and everybody's need is different. So to that extent, I think, we need to look at it on a case-by-case basis and empathize with the other person. Transparency. I mean, obviously, we wanted to make sure that both our employees and our clients were given the same information that we had when we made our decisions, and they understood the decisions that we were making. So I think those are the two keys, right? And the third one, obviously, and especially in a time like this, is innovation. You had to really, think exactly how you would address these issues. And, let me give you, for an example, my situation. I would normally travel to Ukraine on a monthly basis, as you know. And, it's, first of all, it's strange not to be on a flight for 6 months. And secondly, a lot of my clients and a lot of my work does require face-to-face meetings. So, how do we get around that? And that's something that we had to address and think about. And my hope is that as this, although the news this morning seems to indicate the pandemic is not getting any better, but my hope is that as the pandemic gets better, travel will become less burdensome, less onerous, and we'll be able to get back to some normalcy in the next few months.
Okay, brilliant. And then, if I may, one of the hats that you wear, you're advisor to the president of Ukraine, President Zelensky.
Oh, yes, right.
Tell us, in terms of, I think, what is the message to investors looking at Ukraine with everything going on, with the pandemic globally, with uncertainty, markets uncertainty, with economic uncertainty, with how Ukraine's dealing with the IMF? What is the message that you would like to deliver from or the president's office that they want to get across to companies looking at Ukraine?
Well, look, first and foremost, Ukraine remains a strong market for any inbound investment, whether it's, continuation of an existing investment or a new investment. Ukraine offers a lot of opportunity. But having said that, as we know, some of the, historic issues that we faced in Ukraine that go back 30 years, the rule of law issues, obviously, even with the best intentions, nobody can resolve in a year. So it's going to take more time to resolve these issues. I mean, it took 30, 40 years to develop them. Are arguably longer, and I think it'll take a few more years to adequately address them. I think on the positive side, it is my firm conviction that the president is the most honest, transparent, and decent person who's ever held that office in Ukraine. It's been 15, 16 months. At least I'm stunned that there hasn't even been a credible accusation of some wrongdoing or graft or transparency or non-transparency by the president. It's really historic. So I think the president obviously has his heart in the right place. He really wants to change the country for the better. But I mean, obviously, there's no easy answer, whether that answer comes from think tanks in Washington, whether that answer comes from IFIs, or whether that answer comes from civil society in Ukraine. I mean, nobody has the magic cure. So let's give it some time. It will develop the way it's meant to be. In the meantime, I believe that the president, if he gets more support from the Western community, the investors that are in Ukraine, at the same time, a healthy dose of constructive criticism, I think that would be the best way forward at this time.
Brilliant. So what was your one message speed to the members of the American Chamber of Commerce already in Ukraine, already doing business in Ukraine?
Look, stay the course. Things are going to get better.
Brilliant. Well, thank you. Thank you, Andrew Mack, partner at Asters Law Firm based in DC. Thank you for everything Asters does in terms of supporting the members, the business. I think it's so important having great legal advice available, and such a great team here in Kyiv and you in Washington. I think the members are very grateful there. Thank you for everything you do with supporting our chamber, the committees we've had, and your expertise, the lawyers coming in and really making Ukraine a better place where to do business. Stay healthy, stay safe. We miss you in Kyiv. We hope to see you.
The hardest thing about this is, Andy, that I don't get to see friends like you on a monthly basis now. So I miss you guys very much. I miss Kyiv very much, and I hope to come as soon as possible.
Well, brilliant. Stay healthy. See you soon. Have a good one. Thanks, Andrew Mack. Bye-bye.
Take care, Andy. Bye-bye.